Hey Defying Gravity Volleyball family, it's Coach T and I'm back with another YouTube video. In today's YouTube video, I'm teaching you 7 free ways that you can practice volleyball in the off season, either at home or I give you places that you can go. So let's hop right into it. First, just for my returning subscribers, I don't have my microphone. I lost it, so while I'm awaiting my new microphone, just bear with me as I project my voice. But I first have to explain why it's important to practice in the off season. Remember that practicing in the off season is almost just as important as your focus in the regular season. So for those that don't know, if you play for a high school team per se, that's called your regular season, where you have practices or a game Monday through Friday, sometimes on the weekends. So you're constantly getting repetitions, you're constantly being coached, so you're always improving ideally, right? But what happens when athletes do not do anything once the regular season ends? So you do 3 or 4 months of regular season, and then what about all the rest of those months, the rest of the year? A lot of athletes, unfortunately, do nothing, and then they come back the next season, and it's almost like they're starting fresh and they're very rusty. It happens all the time. So that's why off-season training is very important. But as the kid many years ago that could not afford to do club teams, which cost thousands and thousands of dollars, I know that I had to find free ways to practice in the off-season. So I'm here to share it with you now as an experienced coach and former player who had to find really interesting ways to practice. So I have 7 main topics, and in each topic I give you drills that you can do. My first main topic out of the 7 is going to be surrounding ball control drills. The cost is free for all of these. You only need yourself, or you can have other players as well for one of the drills. And for materials, you just need to make sure you have a volleyball. The first drill for our ball control topic is going to be wall passing. This one's very easy. You have your volleyball. Try not to disturb other people if you can. Find a flat wall without bumps on it. It's a nice smooth surface. And I'll put in a video here of me doing this so you can see it visually as I describe it. But wall passing, you're ideally just aiming to control the ball as you forearm pass. Your main goal with this is to pass with the correct form, but also pass consistently. So you're barely moving to get your pass as it's coming straight back to you over and over again. And you're doing the same correct technique and form. So that can look like having your platform straighten out, your feet are in the correct placement, your shoulders are dropped and angled to where you're pushing the ball to on the wall, and you're utilizing your legs mostly to push that ball as a pass. If you have the materials for this, you can also use some tape and make a box on the wall and keep trying to hit the ball back there. But again, please don't do that. If there's paint on the wall, you have to know your resources, and please don't ruin anyone's property. The second drill on the ball control topic is going to be wall setting. So this is obviously the same exact idea. So take everything I just said about wall passing, except you're overhand setting and passing now. So you have to remember the technique of setting. You're taking the ball from your forehead. If you moved your hands when you were setting, it would smack you right in the forehead. So you're taking the ball from your forehead. Your elbows aren't here or here. They're right in that sweet spot. And you're extending and pushing out from your forehead. Make sure you're also utilizing a leg right in front of you, so you're pushing forward and using that to set. And your goal is again to just do this continuously as long as you can without much movement. It's hitting the same spot every time. It's coming right back to you, setting over and over and over again. My next one for ball control is wall peppering. So for those that don't know what peppering is, it's usually just a small little drill or fun game that you can do with one other partner, where you're doing the 3 contact, ideally, that you see in a game, which is first contact pass, second contact the setter sets, and the third contact the hitter hits the ball. It takes a lot of energy, and you honestly need a lot of ball control, and it can be kind of frustrating if you don't have that. So use this with a wall in that same fashion, except you're doing all 3 touches. So you would forearm pass the ball to the wall. When the ball gets knocked back at you from the wall, you set it back. When the ball comes back to you again, you attack it, and then you dig it, set. You're getting the gist of it now, probably. My final drill for the ball control is called partner peppering. So I just explained what peppering is. So instead of having to adjust a peppering warm-up drill, with a wall, you get to actually do it with a partner. So what I just explained, you're going to toss it, pass, you set it back, they hit it at you, you dig it, they set it, you hit it. It's very continuous. It's honestly a lot of fun and it really gets your energy up. So those are really easy ways that I thought of at the top of my head of how to do some ball control drills. All right, my second main topic is about serving and hitting. For these drills, it will be free. It will not cost you anything. You'll only need yourself, and the only materials you're gonna need is a volleyball. Of course, you can utilize a net whenever you can for any of these drills that I talk about or any volleyball materials, but I tried to keep it as simple and zero material, zero money as possible for people that need that. So my first drill for the serving and hitting subsection is about serving. So this is the simplest thing that I could think of. You're simply going to grab a volleyball and find either a starting point or a line that can show you if you would put your foot over the line, kind of like you're used to in a volleyball match where the up ref is looking to see if you crossed the serving line with your foot. So even if you put a stick in front of you, you really have to be creative when you're doing free at-home drills. And you're going to ensure when you're practicing this, you're focusing on the form. So if you're ever practicing at home or alone, you really need to make sure you're getting reps, but proper reps. So you're doing the correct technique. Because if you're doing the wrong technique at home for hours, you're not getting actually good reps, unfortunately. The main focus points for fundamental serving for youth through high school is going to first and foremost be to check your toss. I say that a lot with my athletes and I will show it in a video here as I keep talking, but your toss should be the same height, the same consistency every single time you tossed. If you had your arm straight out and you just were tossing and letting it drop and catching it and doing that over and over again, it should land right in front of your foot every single time, the same spot. Remember that your toss completely changes your serve. So your serve should never be too far behind you, too far in front of you and make you lean forward. It should never do that. It should never be too low or too high as well. Secondly, you want to make sure your contact point is nice and high, and that means your elbow is nice and high. So if you have your arm straight out waiting to toss, you have your elbow high waiting to hit it at the correct high contact point. My second drill for serving and hitting is a approach drill. You're again going to find a very clear starting point, and you're just going to practice your hitting approach. And for those that don't know, your hitting approach is that thing that you see professional and college volleyball players doing every single time they are about to hit a ball. So you usually see that they transition back to the 10-foot line and they're doing their step approach. Make sure that you ask your coach or you do a lot of research for this, but there's different step approaches. So truly this approach drill, you're just practicing your approach over and over again. My last one for the serving and hitting drills is going to be about your arm swing. So that's just to accompany the previous drill, so I could explain it a little more, but you always want to make sure that you're contacting the ball at the correct point. So this isn't like a separate drill, but I want you to incorporate it with the approach that you're practicing. If you do that, you want to make sure you're contacting a ball at the correct point. So if you have a friend that's coming with you to do any of these drills, or you have someone around you who's willing to toss you a ball like a set, so that way you can transition, approach, and practice contacting the ball at the correct point. You don't hit it under. If you're a youth and high school person like that watches my content, you're practicing just the fundamental hitting the ball on the top and the correct point. And you also want to make sure you're doing a full palm contact. You're not swiping it, you're not doing a fingertip, a nice strong smack. You would hear it if it hits the correct point of your hand, and you would also hear it if it's hitting the wrong part. It sounds very different. My third main topic is going to be about strength and agility. So this is not going to cost you anything. You only really need yourself for this, and you don't even need any materials at all for this, because this is all going to be about workouts instead of focusing on fundamentals or techniques and training. So my first one's going to be focused on jump training. So you can easily do this by doing some jump squats. You can do box jumps, broad jumps, and something to make this fun, you could quite literally again go to a local park and use the hopscotch and try to skip jump and do your broad jumps that way. Next one is going to be focused on core strength. You can really practice that by doing planks, Russian twists, leg raises. And the last ones are focusing on agility and footwork, which you guys know that's very important for volleyball. And you can practice your agility footwork by doing quick shuffle steps, going in and out with your feet. You can do high knees, you can do quick steps. But please remember, I need you guys to hear me when I say this, do not skip over this part. You need to be very careful and mindful when you're doing workouts like this, especially if you are by yourself or you're very young and you haven't really worked out with a qualified trainer before. You really need to make sure you are doing these things correctly so you're not hurting your body and you're doing it at your capacity. So if you do not have confidence in this, you can look on YouTube and try to find workout videos for free. My fourth main topic is going to be about visual training, one of my favorite ones if I'm being honest, because you don't even have to physically do anything, you're just watching volleyball. So for this, the cost is going to be free, or you might just need a subscription to a TV channel. And for materials, you quite actually only need your phone or a TV because you're watching volleyball, as I said. The first one is I'm suggesting you watch college or professional volleyball, and you can do that on YouTube. You can look up recent volleyball full matches on YouTube and see if you can find any. You can look at highlights, but I really suggest you watch full matches because that gives you a lot of more info about like the mental stamina that also goes into volleyball, watching different positions, subbing in and out, different rotations and defense setups. Also, if you have a YouTube TV subscription, so I know this is a free idea YouTube video, but if your family has a YouTube TV subscription, for one example, you can record college volleyball men's or women's games D1 and you can watch it back. And then my next one I think is the most fun, is you can physically go watch a college match. So a lot of people don't know, you can go usually to D3 volleyball games in your local area for free. I would always bring my high school athletes to a local D3 team because it didn't cost us any money, and a lot of the times we would go to a D3 team and it didn't feel like D3, it just felt like a really exciting college volleyball match that had higher level of play. Not only is it exciting, but you get to possibly see college coaches and see what they're about, see their program, but most importantly learn a lot about a higher level volleyball. There's also usually high school games that you can go watch, and I don't think it's weird at all to go watch high school games, especially if your team doesn't play against them. Maybe check out other high school games. If there's a boys game and you're on a girls season, there's plenty of ways that you can go watch some volleyball. Alright, so my last 3 ideas for free ways to practice volleyball in the off season is going to be focused more around kind of more specific ideas called captain's practice. But a captain's practice is quite literally what it sounds like. It's when the captains of the varsity team run practices in the off season. So there's a reason in my area where we're not allowed to coach in the off season because it makes for unfair advantages for teams that don't have a coach that can do that. So we're not allowed to coach in the off season, but my captains can run a practice in the off season. So that means my varsity captains, they plan out a practice, a 2-hour practice. They pick whatever they want to do, and so it's really fun. It also gives captains a chance to see new athletes that might want to join. I think captain's practices are one of the biggest things that you should be doing in the off season. And if you're not sure how to see when a captain's practice is or how to join one, especially if you're like me, who I was like, how do I even find out about it when I was a little 8th grader? You can reach out to the school's athletic director, you can reach out to the head coach and ask. You're becoming a part of the program in a way, you're learning more about the captains because they represent the program at the highest level, and they're teaching you things that the head coach teaches them. So captain's practices I think is the best thing that you can be doing. My 6th one is really fun. It's beach volleyball. So a lot of local areas will have sometimes free volleyball nets, and usually it is kind of packed and busy, so you have to get there at a good time. But if you bring a bunch of your friends, it's really awesome. A bunch of my athletes that I used to coach did that in the summer as well, and it was awesome to see that. They would bring each other to a beach on some summer days, and they would bring a volleyball and they would have really intense matches. And beach volleyball is obviously great because you're getting an intense workout. Beach volleyball is very different than indoor volleyball, of course, but practicing passing and setting and all that great stuff in volleyball in general is great, and it's a beautiful workout for stamina and endurance. Alright, my 7th and final free way that you can get off-season practice in volleyball is going to be utilizing local gyms like the YMCA. So of course the cost for this, it can vary for locations, and of course it does cost money to have a membership, but I included this because again, my athletes inspired me, where sometimes after practice they were so hardworking and it would make me nervous, but they would say, hey coach, I'm actually gonna go walk to the YMCA down the street and I'm gonna get some lifts in, because we were just doing reps that whole day and we didn't do any floor workouts or lifting that week. So they're like, I'm gonna go get my lift in at the Y. And a lot of them don't have the means to pay for club teams, but their family has a YMCA membership, so they get to go there essentially for free. So this is just for me to put in there. Really utilize and ask your family if they have gym memberships, if you can accompany them as a guest. Usually that's free, at least a couple times a month or a week, whenever you can. All right, that was me trying to keep it very short and simple, but it's hard to when there's so many ideas. If I'm being transparent, I wrote this blog off the top of my head. I didn't do much research because this is from experience as a player who didn't have the financial means to really pay for any tournament club teams, but also what I've learned from my athletes in modern times, because I was an athlete many years ago, but my athletes now also teach me things about how you can really still get reps in the off-season if you want it. Also, just as a coach, I just think everyone should have access to off-season training, even if they don't have the financial means for it, especially my athletes that want it very badly and they're hardworking and they're the type to just set a ball in their bed for hours, or they're type to watch volleyball for fun while they're eating dinner. There's always those athletes where I want to make sure I'm giving people ideas and access to know that you can still work out and you can still have the same amount of talent as the kids that are fortunate enough to have the financial means to go to a club volleyball team and be seen by a lot of recruiters and all of that. I just think it's important to know you have options as long as you have the hard work ethic and the drive to want it. So I hope that was helpful to you guys in some way. Please do not forget to like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot more than you guys think, because for instance, I know that my rotations video did really well by the likes and views that I got on that, so I'm going to be making a second rotations video explaining rotations way more in depth. So please make sure you like and subscribe. It lets me know what content you're really liking. Also, do not forget to follow my TikTok and Instagram. I post on there daily, if not weekly. So if you want any youth to high school volleyball content, you should be following my social media pages if you liked this video. And of course, last but not least, just don't forget to check out my website, defyinggravityvolleyball.com, where I post my blog content first and foremost there, of course, before it gets advertised. I put my YouTube videos on there, my contact info, all that great stuff. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope I can see you in the next video. Bye.